So we've been covering everything Candace Owens has been saying about the Charlie Kirk assassination since that fateful day on September 10th happened. Very, very sad for Charlie Kirk and his family and his friends, his close friends, specifically Candace Owens, has seemingly been fighting against the world. It seems like it's been Candace Owens against the world up until very recently. She's finally started to show some receipts. We saw yesterday on one of her live streams, she showed some receipts from text messages and a text conversation that went back and forth between Charlie Kirk and people who were associated with, worked with, and were invested in Turning Point USA's platform. Charlie Kirk was seemingly changing his stance on Israel. They had lost some donations or some donors who contributed millions of dollars to Turning Point USA. And it seems like things were starting to get tense. Candace Owens called it out. People, again, a lot of people were shaming her, saying she needs to let it go. She's crazy. She doesn't know what she's talking about. Since the beginning here, I've said one thing, and that one thing has been, with her being as close to Charlie Kirk as she was, I don't see her having a reason to lie. And she backed up a lot of what she said yesterday. I want to play a small clip of what she said on the live stream yesterday, and then we're going to get into Turning Point's response to what Candace Owens says, because they're actually going to back up Candace Owens' story. Yep, it gets wild. Here we go.
I don't like it. He knew, and others knew, that Charlie was done with Israel bullying him, and I'm now going to present you proof of what I am saying. This is an actual group chat, which happened 2 days before Charlie Kirk was assassinated. There were 9 people in total on this chat, including Charlie and Rob McCoy. I'm going to protect the names of the other 7 for now. To be clear, I might actually release a name every day this week, but I want to show you this because suffice it to say, Rob McCoy was on this text thread, and I think it helps contextualize him as a person, in my view, that he would attack me for telling the truth about the pressure that he was facing. Take a look. So Charlie writes in this group chat, just lost another huge Jewish donor, $2 million a year because we won't cancel Tucker. I'm thinking of inviting Candace. Somebody writes, oh. Charlie writes, Jewish donors play into all of the stereotypes. I cannot and will not be bullied like this, leaving me no choice but to leave the pro-Israel cause. And somebody writes, a donor writes, please do not invite Candace. That might feel good short term, but it's not good long term, in my opinion. Like all groups, you're going to get a wide variety of opinions. That nasty free will thing that God bestowed on us makes life frustrating at times after the dust settles a bit, maybe. So again, this is 48 hours before Charlie Kirk was assassinated. He was very clear and he was very explicit, and he did not back down, not in that Hamptons meeting, which they're all lying about, nor in this text thread. I'm not going to reveal the names of the other 7. Actually, you know what? I disagree with myself 4 seconds ago. Let's just throw in Josh Hammer for funsies. He's on this chat, okay?
Oh, she called him out.
So what are we to make of that? Okay.
We're going to talk about it here in a second. Now, again, I'll leave the link to Candace's full live stream in the description, so y'all can go check that out if you haven't watched it yet, because we're moving forward. So that's what happened. Again, there was a lot of backlash. A lot of people were saying, oh, this is Photoshop. Oh, it's not real. I can't believe it. Candace is crazy. And it was posted all over X. There was a lot of response to this. But the speculation somewhat ended, and a lot of the haters got quiet once Turning Point actually spoke out about the text messages. So we're going to hear from people over at Turning Point, specifically a man named Andrew Colvett. Y'all will learn who he is shortly. But this is what goes on in this video, and give you guys an overview. And shout out to Wall Street Apes for this. They say, all of a sudden, the tone at Turning Point has changed, especially when it comes to Candace Owens and the Charlie Kirk assassination. All right, so here's what they're going to say in a breakdown. What Candace Owens is saying is true, they say. Charlie Kirk text message threads was real. He was being blackmailed by Jewish donors. And Charlie Kirk, you can see he says this here. He says, Jewish donors play into all the stereotypes. I cannot and will not be bullied like this. Thinking they give a certain amount of money, they should be able to control the narrative or the direction of where Turning Point was going. He was being blackmailed by the Jewish donors. He agreed with Tucker Carlson on some issues. Jewish donors were threatening him with cutting donations, and they did, to the tune of $2 million at one point. Who knows how much more there was. And then Charlie Kirk was being defiant and saying he wouldn't be controlled by them. So now we're going to hear from Turning Point USA. Colin Rugg says Turning Point USA's Andrew Colvett confirms the text messages from Charlie Kirk that Candace Owens showed are authentic, right? The texts in question were from Charlie in a group chat in which he said he had no choice but to leave the pro-Israel cause. Check this out. I'm going to let Turning Point talk about it. This is Andrew right here.
But I want to take the start of this show to address some of the things that have been going around on public, namely about a group text chain that has been made known and released by Candace Owens. And I just want to address it head on because, that was a screen grab that I had shared with people. So it is authentic. And I want to go into it because I actually am really excited that the truth is out there. I first want to say the reason I didn't share that screen grab publicly is because it was a private exchange, and I felt like it didn't necessarily comport with things that were already public. I wanted to not betray my friends' trust in that way. But I did share it with some people in government because it happened really quick. It was, it took 33 hours for authorities to get their suspect. And in those first moments, we wanted no stone unturned. We wanted to leave.
Now, Andrew says something interesting here. He said one of the reasons that he was withholding the text messages or the text message thread because a lot of what was being said and what he saw in the investigations didn't line up with what Charlie Kirk was saying in the text messages. So he said, I'll just let the professionals do their job here. I'm sorry, but if a friend tells you as a public figure, hey, you know what? I'm not feeling McDonald's. I can't eat there. The food isn't that great for you. It's just, I don't think it's good. I'm going to come out and I'm probably not going to be supporting McDonald's like I had in the past, guys. I can't do it. And then 2 days later, this person ends up disappeared. Are you not going to think maybe McDonald's had something to do with it? Again, I don't know why Andrew would make that statement, but to each their own. People handle things differently.
A screen grab that I had shared with people. So it is authentic. And I want to go into it because I actually am really excited that the truth is out there. I first want to say the reason I didn't share that screen grab publicly is because it was a private exchange, and I felt like it didn't necessarily comport with things that were already public. I wanted to not betray my friends' trust in that way. But I did share it with some people in government because it happened really quick. It was, it took 33 hours for authorities to get their suspect. And in those first moments, we wanted no stone unturned. We wanted to leave nothing unturned. So I shared it with a few people. Don't know where it went from there, apparently. But here we are. So one of the reasons, Blake, that I'm glad to have this now public, it was not mine to share publicly, but one of the criticisms we've received is that we don't care. We're not investigating every lead. We're not looking under every stone, and that somehow we're just sweeping things under the rug. And when I say that we want justice for Charlie more than anybody else, I really mean it, and no stone unturned. I mean, I don't know if you want to chime in on that part alone.
I get people handle things in different ways. And I'm going to say this a lot throughout this video from Turning Point USA, because it seems like we have two different sides of the fence here when it comes to how you respond to your friend being unalived. You have the Candace Owens side, so where she's like, if I hear one thing that points to foul play when it comes to Charlie Kirk, I'm calling it out and I'm telling everybody. Then you have the other side, which is Andrew, and he says, listen, if I hear something, I'm just going to turn it over to the police. I'll turn it over to the FBI, and I have full confidence in them that they're going to handle this accordingly. Which side are you going to be on? Maybe Andrew, he's either just careful or he's worried about the ramifications and he doesn't think there's an issue there, and he has trust in the law enforcement. He has trust in the FBI. Where Candace Owens on the other side, she's seen, heard, done, experienced a lot of things when it comes to corruption. So maybe that's the difference. Trying to give Andrew the benefit of the doubt here.
But I have more to say.
Yeah, so it has been so frustrating to have people blow up about this.
Yeah.
And I've certainly stated publicly, the reason I haven't weighed in on things is I am an eyewitness to events, and they've said don't comment on things because anything you say can mess that up. I don't want to mess up any trial for the person who did this.
That's 1,000% right. And I will say I wasn't an eyewitness. I was not there. I flew to Utah immediately to be with the family and the team, but I was not an eyewitness. So there's that. But I am aware that in my role as spokesman for Turning Point USA, which is another hat I wear, that things I say, I'm cognizant of the fact that things I say could negatively impact an ongoing investigation. All right. But I will weigh in
or the bottom
specifically on this issue of Israel, because I know there's a lot of fascination. And I just want to say that, you know, we have to let free speech be our North Star here. Okay. Charlie was adamantly free speech. And I am not personally going to impugn anybody's character who is asking questions and looking for answers. All right. And I will say that that text chain is consistent with public frustrations that he voiced many times. And I know, Blake, you were in the trenches on a lot of this stuff because we were workshopping how we were going to do the tour and what he's going to get asked about Israel, what was he going to say. And this is consistent with things that he told his friends, people that are, you know, in the wider movement about his wrestle that he was going. And so I just want to say, like, what is the truth about the way Charlie felt about Israel? Well, it's complicated and it's nuanced, and it was a wrestle that was going on for months. And it's probably somewhere between the BB letter and the text group text.
I don't even think there's a...
It's complicated, Andrew. Come on, guys. This doesn't sound like it's complicated to me. It's complicated as you're in a relationship and you ask your significant other, hey, you know, I'm trying to find out, what are we? And they're like, no, we're close, right? We're close. You know, I love you. You love me. Let's just not overthink it. That's complicated. What's not complicated is you say, hey, what are we? And this person says, listen, I don't think we're going to be together for that much longer. That's what's happening here with Charlie Kirk. According to these messages, Charlie Kirk says not only did someone already break up with him, we just lost another huge Jewish donor, but he also says Jewish donors play into all the stereotypes. I cannot and will not be bullied like this, leaving me no choice but to leave the pro-Israel cause.
Stop the cap.
Andrew, that is not complication. That is 100% sure that he's done. So what do you mean it was complicated? This does not sound complicated. What it sounds like is Charlie Kirk had people in his ear, possibly Andrew. I don't know. That would be alleged. Possibly people close to him that were saying, hey, man, listen, I know you feel this way. Maybe you can just have your frustrations. You can start to move a different way. But we just lost $2 million, Charlie. Understand what that means. Charlie said, I don't care. I'm not supporting. I don't believe in this anymore. And we're going to have to move accordingly and figure this out. So I don't get where Andrew is getting that it was complicated from, because it was nowhere near complicated. Charlie had made his decision. I
just want to say, like, what is the truth about the way Charlie felt about Israel? Well, it's complicated and it's nuanced, and it was a wrestle that was going on for months. And it's probably somewhere between the BB letter and the text group text.
I don't even think there's a between about it. I think those are entirely consistent with the exact same worldview. Yes. Charlie was not hiding things from people. People are going to try to make you fixate on a particular quote or a particular line to make you think that there was something hidden. There was nothing hidden about Charlie's views on Israel. Like Charlie, I worked with Charlie on every major issue that we talked about, you know, immigration, abortion,
sure about that?
Transgender stuff. And he thought about the Israel issue a ton, all the time. It was in the news all the time. People cared about it a lot. He cared about it a lot. Just before the shooting happened, I finished reading, this is a 700-page book about the history of the Israel-Palestine conflict. I read this book because Charlie said, Blake, get really well-versed on this so you can help me whenever it comes up and just know stuff off the top of your head.
Yeah.
So I read it for that reason. If you want to know Charlie's views on the Gaza war, he wanted the war to end. He didn't want America to take Palestinian refugees. He was annoyed when people advocated that. He didn't want American troops on the ground there or with any other war. And he was upset when he saw stories about churches being damaged or Christians being killed. But at the same time, he recognized Hamas started the war. Hamas could end the war. Israel ultimately represented European civilization. Hamas represented Middle Eastern barbarism. And Hamas were the chief evildoers, and people who supported them were almost always supporting them for these bad, like, anti-civilizational reasons.
Yeah.
That's what his view was. And he was public about that. And then as it continued, Charlie talked to young people all the time. He could see what was going on the internet. He could see among young conservatives, there was a big shift to be hostile to Israel. There was a shift big time on the left, but it was also visible on the right. He could tell anti-Semitism was rising in America, and that upset him. Charlie was public about this. He loved Israel, he cared about Israel, and he cared about how that and he wanted to help the pro-Israel movement.
Yeah, and I want to play this. It's a long clip, but I said something on the Alex Clark show that was, in my mind, completely consistent with Charlie's public views about Israel. And that is something that he expressed very publicly on Megyn Kelly. Now, I know this clip has gone viral, but I think it's worth playing again. So here's Charlie in his own words with Megyn Kelly, cut 65.
So his words were he wanted to help the pro-Israel movement. Charlie Kirk, leaving me no choice but to leave the pro-Israel cause.
Stop the cap.
So what, are we saying that this was just a heated moment that Charlie had? Guys, he wasn't serious. These were in private. People say things in private. They say things that they don't mean all the time. They call people names. They say they're going to do something to such and such. Oh, well, then I guess we're going to have to see more, because this doesn't sound like he was supporting pro-Israel. But hey, I'm just a regular guy.
And I will say this, the behavior by a lot, both privately and publicly, are pushing people like you and me away. Not like we're going to be pro-Hamas, like we're going to, but we're like, honestly, the way you are treating me is so repulsive. I have text messages, Megyn, calling me an anti-Semite. I am learning biblical Hebrew and writing a book on the Shabbat. I honor the Shabbat. Literally the Jewish Sabbath. I visit Israel and fight for it. And there's another article out in the Times of Israel today. I could read it on air. I was just reading before I got on. Charlie, what are you doing? Like, what am I doing? I'm sorry. Like, let's just take a step back here. Like, I'm an American citizen. Yes, I want Israel to win. Yes, I'm a Christian. But like, some of the mess, and you've seen how I've been treated, Megyn, by some, not all, by some.
No, it's very irritating.
It's
been so unfair. They were coming after you after Turning Point for, among other things, that you had Dave Smith there. Dave Smith is allowed to criticize Israel. You had both sides. The Israeli side was overrepresented.
No, you're not allowed to. It's even worse than that. Again, I just want to repeat for the fifth time. I love Israel. I want Israel to win. But my moral character is now being put into question, Megyn. Not my decisions. Not like, hey, are you doing this? Is it smart or is it dumb? But no, I am a bad person if I do this. And I could go, you saw it, Megyn. It was trending on Twitter, thousands of tweets and text messages. And if I were to be charitable and generous, I will say the people that are attacking me are in a hyper paranoid state, because they're at war, and war tends to make things black and white, and you're a hammer looking for a nail. So I'm trying to be charitable, Megyn. Literally, I'm trying to cut as much slack as I can, right? Like, okay, what would it be like if all of a sudden I'm starting to see a pattern of behavior similar to what my grandparents saw in 1930s Germany online? How would I behave? So that's like my charitable kind of overcompensation spirit. At the same time, I'm like, but it's not defensible to be dumb, right?
Yeah.
So,
and it's offensive. It's offensive to those of us who have been out there defending them in many instances against critics on our own side.
Yeah. And again, there's more that Andrew goes on to say. There'll be a link in the description if y'all want to watch the full live stream episode from Andrew on the Charlie Kirk show. But it's going to be interesting moving forward to see how this is all going to play out and what evidence again comes out, because Candace Owens says, we're going to get to it, that she has additional and more information that not only is going to be released, but if something happens to her, God forbid, she said she's got things in place to where we'll be able to see all of it, everything she's been able to see. So I think what's been happening with Candace Owens and the Turning Point USA situation and Charlie Kirk's assassination on top of that is Candace knows a lot more than she's talked to us about. And I'm sure she is just dying to put everything out there. But you have to do things in a certain way, especially if you're wanting to expose the lies that are being spread about this entire assassination. If you just throw everything out there right away, it's going to be disputed. And there's going to be some reason that things didn't happen, right? Or there's going to be a reason that, oh, that's false. But if you let the people, you just let someone continue to talk, continue to paint the narrative, continue to paint the story, and you pull up the receipts, that's when you got him. Candace Owens, I think, is playing this perfectly. It's interesting to see how this is just a small piece of the evidence that she's going to be able to show leading up to what she believes actually happened to Charlie Kirk. So make sure y'all stay tuned and let me know what you think about this in the comments and in the chat.